Thank you, Chair. It's a pleasure to join this discussion. My name is Gigi Alford, and I direct the sport and human rights work at the World Players Association. Excellencies and esteemed colleagues, as we've heard, we are at a decisive point in the experiment of human rights in and through sport. Despite some headway, we are still trailing on key measures of progress. Of course, in human rights work, we're all familiar with the tension, the hope, the determination to turn the tide. I suspect that's why many of us are here. We're drawn to sport because we believe it can help us when we're down, to come from behind and achieve our goals. Even Kofi Annan admitted that the World Cup makes us at the UN green with envy. Who here hasn't heard and longed for Nelson Mandela's vision of the transformative force of sport? Sport, Mandela said nearly a quarter century ago, has the power to change the world, to inspire, unite, connect with youth, create hope, break down racial barriers, and laugh in the face of all types of discrimination. These are our goals too, are they not? But what we leave out are the words he uttered next, surrounded on stage by athletes and other sports figures. "The heroes standing with me are examples of this power," he said. "They are valiant not only in the playing field, but also in the community, both local and international. They are champions and they deserve the world's recognition." So why then do we allow others, institutions, corporations, politicians, to claim this power as their own and tell the athletes to stick to sport? Athletes prefer to stick to Mandela's vision. Just listen. Listen to professional footballer and Indigenous Australian Lydia Williams, who said athletes are more than their sport. "It's important," she said, "to have our own voice in things that need to be improved. Not just in the sporting world, but also what we see and can be part of elsewhere, creating better opportunities for generations to come." Listen to Lacia Clarendon, the first out trans and non-binary player in the history of the Women's National Basketball Association in the US, who said athletes really do have the power to change the world, and that we will never shut up and dribble, because we refuse to be used as entertainment. Listen to Azim Rafiq, the professional and international cricketer, whistleblower, and author who left Pakistan for the UK as a child fleeing violence with his family, only to now face death threats for exposing racism in his sport and his society. He said he has found a sense of purpose far greater than himself. "I want to represent the normal person in these rooms, those who will never get here, and fight for their rights." He said these words in this very room last year. Each of these athletes has been exposed to the inordinate imbalance of power in sport that left them vulnerable. World Players research documents the significant harms that arise from these power imbalances, and demonstrates the win-win benefits when athletes are free to enjoy their human rights, including those under the Declaration on Fundamental Principles and Rights at Work, which the International Labor Organization affirms. Athletes are ready to play in a different world. They need a level playing field. Are states ready to support them? We call upon states to ensure that athletes are allowed to be independently represented without fear of reprisals. States must make social dialogue a criteria for their sport policy and funding programs, and verify that athlete representatives are accountable only to the athletes. States must recognize athletes' roles as human rights defenders when they put themselves and their careers on the line to support a cause. Ensure that sport governing bodies' policies on athlete expression, such as the IOC's Athlete Rights and Responsibilities Declaration, align with international standards on freedom of expression and global commitments to protect rights defenders. Finally, states must guarantee for all athletes the right to access to effective remedy. Start by ensuring that the current system of global sports arbitration does not deprive athletes of access to judicial bodies and mechanisms available for cases involving human rights violations. In short, athletes deserve the same rights and protections as everyone and anyone else. In closing, let us remember that every match has its turning point, that moment when everything changes, when hope is reignited and victory becomes possible. Today, we have that chance to create such a turning point with athletes who are empowered and able to empower themselves. As Mandela concluded in his speech, speaking as we now know about athletes, their legacy will be an international community where the rules of the game are the same for everyone, and behavior is guided by fair play and good sportsmanship. It's our role then, including states, especially states, to stick with athletes who don't stick to sport, so that they can fulfill the legacies that Mandela envisioned. Start with South African runner Caster Semenya, also a champion activist and author valiantly racing to leave her legacy in and through sport. I played my role as an athlete, she said. Now it's my job to make sure that I fight for what is right. This, Excellencies and colleagues, is the power that we seek and why we are all here. I look forward to your questions and reflections, and I thank you for ensuring that these athletes are heard.